the reality. We spend the majority of our city's budget on public safety. And yet, our own councilmen have both been victims of crime. What would you do to make our community safer so that we can sleep nights and know our family's safe? So that we can walk these new walkable streets that you delivered and not fear for our safety. Tell me what your plans for public safety are in Silver Lake. And we'll start with Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. I've been a victim too. I was driving north on Roman Avenue and I was rear-ended by a naked woman in a car that was all drugged up. 12 police officers and 8 vehicles showed up, and she was driving the car that was one of the murder cases. So, you know, it's all involved. My slogan, "Be Safer than Schaefer," says I have a focus on the police department. I may be the only person at this table that's gone out during the campaign and ridden with the police officers. I went over to the police stations, I went over to a former prosecuting attorney, a former city councilman, and they said, "Well, you're not in the program. We're not taking citizens." I said, "I am in the program. I'm applying for a city job." And they said, "Okay." So I have been endorsed by Police and Fire when I was in San Diego. Police and Fire like me, I like them, and I will see that they get a lot of knowledge and attention with the Silver Lake community when I'm in.
Thank you. Mr. Segala.
Yes, first I'd like to go back to my vision that I talked about earlier, that every community that makes up this council district is safe, clean, healthy, and vibrant. On the safety issue, I will work hard as a council member to make sure we protect the funding and resources of our fire and our police departments. We're going to work hard to make sure that we use the power of the office, of the council office, to bring community leaders and neighborhoods together to collaborate, to cooperate against on the fight against crime. Also, you know, I grew up like in LA, like every other kid wanted to be a Dodger. Baseball kept me out of trouble. And one of the things I want to do is continue to invest in our youth, to make sure they have the programs and the opportunities to stay off the streets and stay out of trouble. The one thing that I worked on as neighborhood council president was to make sure that Station 20 on Sunset was covering our neighborhoods. Every time there's a Dodger game, they run up the hill to take care of fans, but they leave our neighborhoods exposed to danger. As council member, I want to make sure that the new Dodgers hire city resources to take care of their fans. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stable.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Jose. I think the fact that we have hundreds of police officers at Dodger games, every Dodger game, but yet the city spends its own resources to take care of the fire and paramedic needs, that needs to change absolutely. One of the very best things that we've done in the city in the past 8 years is our commitment and our successful advancement of the expansion of the LAPD, the police department. And that might seem counterintuitive, but the fact of the matter is we are able to do community policing because our police department is larger and it has that ability to actually be partners with the community and not just patrolling the community. Every time we hire a new officer, the department gets younger, more progressive, more diverse. It looks more local, and looks like the community that it serves. I fought every single year to protect that funding in the budget when it was under full attack by the City Council's Budget Committee, and we won every single time.
Thank you. Mr. Choi.
I think it's a remarkable accomplishment that we have more officers now in the history, in the city of Los Angeles in its history. But I also think it's really important to make sure that those officers are on the street. That's where my focus is going to be, to make sure that of those 10,000 plus officers, that we have more and more of them actually on the street doing patrols, and that's going to require rebuilding the civilian workforce at LAPD. I think that's number one. Second, I think it's incredibly important that we understand that after-school programs, parks programs, and having the facilities open is not just about being able to walk your dog. It's not just about being able to walk in some green space. It's about being able to have sources, places for young kids to go to stay out of trouble. One of the programs that I was really excited to be part of was what we call Midnight Basketball in one of the worst areas of crime in the city. It's Baldwin Village in South LA. What we did is we hired some of the active gang leaders, we put them to work and said, you're running the program, we're going to give you a job, and we're going to give you responsibility. We saw a 300% decrease in crime in that summer, and I think those are the types of programs that we need to fund and continue to prioritize in the city of LA.
Mr. Campo.
So for a few years, I lived on Marathon Street in the 80s and early 90s with my family. And gangs like Mara Salvatrucha, Mamerana Locos, they were talked about as if they were baseball teams. And my sisters knew where the local drug dealers were and the crime that was happening. And that, it was shocking. And what made me realize is there's certain psychologies there with gangs and drug dealers, and understanding that it goes back to the youth. And programs like the Summer Youth Employment Program that I was part of, that was sponsored by the city, helped me, and we need to continue that and make sure that there's funding there. Also, working with our neighborhood councils on neighborhood watches. Being part of the Greater Griffith Park Neighborhood Council, I had some opportunities to work with neighborhood watches, and that's vital. And working with the community and making sure that we're getting feedback, and making sure that we prioritize the public safety budget and that it doesn't get cut any further. And I believe with all of that, we can really make this community safe.
Thank you. Mr. Harrelson.
Over the course of this last year, it's been really amazing for me to watch the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council take a very active position with the police department and with the community leaders and the neighborhood watch programs to be able to help protect our neighborhoods. Rusty Millar is a person that's taken a real leadership role in our community, and whenever certain things happen in our community, crimes, people being robbed or incidents happening like that, Rusty has been very good at reaching out to different people in the community and letting them know these incidents have happened. By informing everybody, it allows everybody to become aware of certain crimes that are taking place, allows them to take the steps that are necessary to be able to protect their homes and their property. I also think it's very important, too, for our police department to be very conscientious and compassionate towards the immigrant community. I think the immigrant community really needs to be able to feel that the police department is something that they can reach out to and communicate with without fearing reprisals for their status as a resident of our community.
Thank you. Mr. Kabushian.
Often I say put a word organized in front of everybody becomes dangerous. Organized crime, organized religion at some point, organized whatever. But the thing is, this community, there's 60 languages are spoken within a 5-mile radius. I used to bike Silver Lake when I was a kid. I was raised in East Hollywood. There's 60 languages, and there's Russian on that wall right there. I'm looking at it right now. It's in Russian. So here in Silver Lake, it's written on Russian on that church wall. So these are the things. The next councilman has to understand the very intricate value of these cultures. Organizing, bringing together, work. As much as a 14-year-old kid could be a gun runner on Santa Monica Boulevard for a ruthless gang, we can organize and empower those families in order to avoid increased funding for police department, increased funding for after-school programs, build parks, put lighting on the streets in order to make this a friendly community that totally cares. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mack.
When you look at the city budget, you see police and fire, public safety are right at the top, and rightfully so. If our communities aren't safe, then nothing else really matters. And so, PD and fire have to be funded as an essential service, but they also have to prove that they're being effective and efficient in delivering the most people on the street as possible. The other part is us. PD can't do it alone. We're not going to fool ourselves. We just started a neighborhood watch up in Apple, and the community has to work with the police because the police can't be everywhere. So there has to be that partnership. And the other thing is, like some of the others, I grew up in a gang area. I grew up in South Central. We see what happens to people that don't have opportunity, that don't have programs, that don't have support. And our council office, working with the police and working with the local nonprofits that truly have the programs that help our youth find diversions and other potentials is so important.
Mr. McGregor.
Yes, we need to have a robust LAPD. There's no question about it. Although crime rate is down, we have our hot pockets that have been like that for many years, as long as I've been around. I'm a firm believer in the broken window theory. And the broken window theory is we need to take care of the small things that before they become big issues. Whether it's illegal dumping in the corner, whether it's that abandoned house that hasn't been sold, and now gang members are hanging out. We need to concentrate and be smart on crime. We can go out there and have all the cops we want, but we need to be smart on crime and take care of the small issues in the community, the quality of life issues. We need to be smart on crime. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. O'Farrell.
It's no surprise to me that public safety was the #1 concern on that survey, because without a sense of public safety, then there really is no quality of life, so we absolutely have to have it. However, it's really important that we work with both the LAPD and gang intervention specialists at the same time, which is something I've always done. I formed several neighborhood watch groups. I also want to commend Silver Lake, because you have a really great neighborhood watch group on this end, led by Rusty. You have a new burgeoning neighborhood watch group that I attended a couple weeks back from the neighborhood council. 30 or 40 people were there, so very impressive. We have the CERT training. Silver Lake really has the first responder sort of situation wired well, and the community is better for it. We also need to staff up Fire Station 20. It serves Echo Park and Silver Lake. There are 12 staff positions in a 24-hour period that have been cut, leaving our hillside areas, which are high fire danger, more vulnerable than they should be. As council member, I will restore Fire Station 20. With that, I have it. Also, summer night lights started the 13th, and it became at the Park After Dark, adopted by the mayor. I'm very proud of that, too.
Thank you very much. President Order.
Crime can be evaded with jobs and education. If you give a kid a job early on, not late, you give them a good education, and I've had the privilege to sit in Mr. Hummer's class and work with my kids, my students, and know what a good teacher does for a kid as a mentor. Sometimes they don't have parents because they're working or because they're single parents taking care of a family. Well, from gangs, from the Rascals, just this Saturday, I met a woman whose kid from the Rascals is now Special Forces Trooper for Parts, an immigrant from Jalisco. You need jobs. You also need collaboration in terms of jurisdictions. We see a spike in crime right now because of the push of prisoners from one jurisdiction to the next. We've been working, my wife in particular, with the Chief of Police, and I'll talk about the rest of it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Post.
These guys are talking about baseball. I think it's time for that 7th inning stretch. No, you know, what I believe is that it's not just about cops in the streets. I started my career in Los Angeles working with the LA's Best After School program, where we fought in some of the most underserved neighborhoods to put after school programs, because we know the value and what happens when you get a kid started on the right path at an early age. Currently, I work with prison inmates every day, and I see what happens when you go off on that wrong path. And so it's absolutely critical that we put funding into after-school programs. We do things like what Charlie back there in the red, Charles in the red sweater, does at the Mitchell Serena Garden by taking empty lots, finding places for kids to go and learn and actually be creative and do something after school and at the times of weekends when they have this free time, to get them out of trouble, stop the gang activity at a young age. We have to do this for our youth, and it's key to public safety.